People often ask about whether or not one should ever prune magnolias, and the answer is generally leave well alone. But I'm standing by quite a small growing magnolia which had problems, and the problem was that in March 1918 the beast from the east struck Cornwall, and for at least 10 days we had really bitter cold winds and we had 2 doses of snow. And unfortunately this magnolia, not only was it in full flower, but it also started to put on its leaves. And as a result, it got a degree of dieback on some, but not all of its main stems. And we had to therefore start to prune it. And as you can see when you look, we basically tried to prune back to just below where the dead wood was. And there wasn't dead wood everywhere, but it was on this main stem. And we did that about a year after the cold weather struck in the spring, and it was obvious the plant had dieback. And actually in the subsequent years, look how vigorously it's reshot. Now, I don't think it would have done that if we hadn't given it a hard pruning and effectively reinvigorated it. And you can already see that we've actually got some flowers showing colour again, nowhere near as many as we had before, but some of the new growth that was made last year is over a foot in length and has now got buds on. So while it's unusual to have to clip a magnolia or treat a magnolia at all, what we were doing here was reacting to what nature had done to this little magnolia, which is called Sweet 16. And we'll now go on and look at another magnolia which was even more seriously affected by that beast from the east and had much greater dieback, and show you how we've managed to revive that magnolia as well, which we actually thought was probably completely dead. So this was a Magnolia Sprengeri Copeland Court, which was also caught by the beast from the east in March 2018. And it started, the sap was all rising, the flowers were out and the leaf was coming out, and then it got terribly cold and it reacted by dying from the top downwards. Things weren't helped by having a very dry summer in 2019 and indeed last year as well. And we were thinking about this originally 20-foot tall tree that had been here about 20 years. We originally thought, you know, have the mini digger and let's dig it out and start again. But then we started to see a few little shoots coming much lower down the stem. And so we thought, well, actually, let's be bold and brave. And although we could see that the stem was starting to split and crack, which is a sure sign that it's pretty much dead, and even on this branch you see the splitting with death, we reduced the energy that the tree was trying to put up into its top, and we cut it back to just below where there was already dead wood. And we also cut off this one side branch, which also didn't look as dead as the rest of it. And you can see that we did this about a year ago, and you can see now that, you know, nice bits of new growth have reappeared, and suddenly we've got 2 or 3 flowers have come. And where you look now, you're seeing vigorous new shoots. It's never going to be a very pretty shape. It's never going to be the shape that it was, but it's very far from dead. I wouldn't be surprised if we don't see in the course of this summer and the next a lot more new shoots coming, and wherever there's a node on the stem, like there, you see a little new shoot starting to come away. It may be that we get further dieback in either of these 2 branches and we have to cut it down further, and eventually I suspect this tree will recover. It was just very bad luck that it happened to have too much sap rising up the stem at a time when it was very cold, and like a gutter full of frozen water, it tends to burst and split. And that's exactly what happened to this magnolia, and it hasn't killed it, and with a bit of judicious pruning we think we've brought it back to life, although it'll be 5 or 10 years before it's flourishing and flowering away as it should, but it's showing promise that it at least wants to. And I stress again, this is very unusual for this to happen to magnolias, which one normally wouldn't consider pruning at all.